Hey guys, what's going on? This is Josh from Spotted Euros. As you can see, the GTI is right here, and do you hear that? Do you hear the purr of that 4-cylinder engine? It sounds pretty smooth, especially when you compare it to to before. So here's a quick update video. The GTI is fixed, everything's fixed. No, it's not. I wish it was, but here's an update video, so stay tuned. Okay guys, for those who are new, Spotted Euros, we're a used car dealership and we buy and sell cars. This GTI right here, it may look like it's in rough shape, and that's because it is. We got it for 900 bucks. We put some work into it, and so let's do a quick update video. So the reason I started off saying listen to the idle is because, well, here's a clip of the idle of this car when we first got it. Okay, so as you can see, when we first got this thing, it sounded like it had a set of cams in it. It sounded like it was really aggressive, but the reality was it had a hard time idling. So that was one of the biggest things. Well, I would say second thing. So we've made, this will be the third video on this car. The first video was just going over the car, talking about where we got it, that kind of stuff. And the second video was talking about the transmission. So when I first got this car, it wouldn't go into first gear. So I definitely, first thing I did was I sorted out the transmission, made sure that it could shift through all the gears. We definitely need first gear. Turned out to be just a bushing issue, so we replaced all the bushings, and now it works great. Third gear, sometimes it pops out of third gear, but first gear works great. Everything else works good. It's just if you're shifting fast into third gear, sometimes it pops back out. But anyway, so once we got the transmission sorted, once we figured out that the transmission was still pretty good, good enough, then we addressed the idle. So like I said before, it wasn't idling good at all. So every time we came to a stop or we slowed down, the car almost acted like it was going to stall out. Luckily, we were able to sort that out. So we did that with replacing pretty much, it seemed like every PCV hose and everything. As far as the vacuum, a lot of PCV hoses were bad. A lot we had to replace just so that the engine was running right and wasn't misfiring. So that was a big deal. Now, I also was trying to get rid of some of the lights on the dash. Car started. Let's see what lights we have on now. So right now we still have the brake pad light. That's pretty easy fix. The ABS light is still on, the traction control light, and the airbag light. So the airbag light was off, and then when I started it this morning, it came back on. So we're still working on getting all the lights off the dash. There's something about having a clear dash that feels good. So anyway, the big fix was the idle. We replaced a lot of those vacuum hoses so that the engine would run right and idle. It's definitely, you know, idling right now. It and it actually runs, it actually feels a lot faster. So I'm sure we had some boost leaks, I'm sure we had some stuff going on. So this is what we're currently looking at right here. So we fixed the idle, the car's running a lot better now. It's shifting into all the gears. So just right off the bat, really not for that much money, we've got a, I guess we always had a running and driving GTI, but at least now it's shifting, it's idling, so everything mechanically seems to be working pretty good besides some of these lights. So let's take it for a drive and see how it feels. So when I first got this car, in the video I talked about how it just felt so slow. The car itself just felt like it was barely moving. And now it definitely had some boost leaks. It definitely wasn't running correct, because now it definitely feels a lot faster. I've been driving this around ever since I got it, so for about a week, and it's just been a blast. So one of the fun things about this Mark IV is I always looked at these Mark IV GTIs. I mean, this is just kind of in my childhood, kind of an iconic car. I mean, everyone wanted a GTI. When I was in high school, the Mark V was the latest generation, so this was just one generation older, which meant people in high school could actually buy and afford these. So it's definitely cool. It definitely plays into, a lot of people would say, you know, this thing's just a piece of junk. You buy it for 900 bucks. Because that's how much it's worth. Been fun to drive around. So the only other Mark V that I've had is I had a Mark IV. The only other Mark IV that I had was a Mark IV Jetta wagon. That car was super fun. I loved the look of it. It was a blast. I lowered it. It looked really good, but it was just the 2-liter 4-cylinder and a engine, so it was super slow. I've always wanted to get one of the 1.8 wagons, or even the VR6. That always sounds good. So one of the other things that I've noticed just driving this car around, so this is an update video, right? Maybe in the title I'm saying everything's fixed, but it's definitely not. So we're just kind of moving along, trying to make this thing better. But one of the things is this thing just rattles so much. I'm sure you can hear it on the camera, but there's so much that's just rattling. My other Mark IV was the same way. One of the reasons I kind of got rid of it was I took it on a long trip, and just the rattling just got to be a little too annoying, so I ended up getting rid of it. It doesn't help having the sport springs on it, so this does have lowering springs. I'm sure the shocks and struts are worn out, so that definitely doesn't help. But other than that, I mean, if you get past all the rattling and the road noise, it's really not that bad. I'm sure, I think in the the first couple clips you should be able to hear, but this car does have a blow-off valve, and I've got mixed feelings about it. It definitely sounds good, but it doesn't necessarily, how would I say, it doesn't feel good. It feels a little much for me. Maybe when I was in high school I'd be more interested, but having a blow-off valve, unless this was pushing some real power and really moving, then I feel like you can justify more of the turbo noises. But when it's just a stock GTI that's really not moving too much, it's a little much. Now this also has, I'm sure you can hear that as well, it also has, it seems to have a, I want to say a Borla exhaust. Maybe, yeah, I think it was a Borla exhaust. Though it does really sound good, but once again, it is just a tad loud. Maybe I'm just getting old, but like I said, it sounds just a tad loud. The blow-off valve is really show-offy, and it's not necessarily my thing. The main focus was the transmission and the engine, so we sorted out the transmission, and then we sorted out the engine. For the most part, there's still a couple of things that need to be done, some of those lights obviously, but now I'm hoping to do some of the more fun stuff, which is for me, the cosmetic stuff, making the car look a lot better. Now surprisingly, it really doesn't look too bad. It probably looks a little better on camera than it does in person, but there's a couple of things. So when I first got the car, it had these side skirts on it. Now they were cheap side skirts, maybe I'll throw in a clip, but they were super cheap side skirts that were just fiberglass. They really weren't the best, because they were just screwed into the front and back, and then they had some brackets on the bottom, but the brackets were super flimsy. Anyway, they just kind of got pushed under the car when I got it. So when I got it, they were just pushed under the car. I pulled them out and looked at them for a second. They didn't look too bad, but they definitely weren't OEM, so I wasn't really that interested. So I took the side skirts off, and I think it looks a lot better. Now the other thing was, I did this I had most of it cleaned off in the last video, but these wheels had a lot of, were they covered? I don't think they were. I think a lot of it had come off already, but they had still quite a bit of plasti dip on these wheels. So I've sprayed them, cleaned them off, and they look a lot better. There's still quite a bit. I think this one's the worst one here, but that plasti dip stuff is the worst. It's the worst to get off. Not so much on the outside. Just cleaned it up, you know, washed it, took off the side skirts, cleaned up the wheels a little bit, and that's pretty much it. Now let's move on to the inside. Now in the last video, now obviously when I'm saying last video or other video, feel free to go back and watch some of the other videos on this GTI so you can get the full story. But the last video, we had all this kind of center console stuff tore out for the shifter, so we put all that back together, we cleaned it up, we vacuumed the car out, we just cleaned everything up for the most part. Back seats in this are actually in really good shape. Front seats are in pretty good shape. I don't know what it is with these Mark IVs, but the leather seems to do this on most of them. And just kind of did a quick cleaning on everything. It doesn't look any different really. Some of these trim pieces were in other spots of the car, like this bottom trim piece kept kind of falling out, so they must have stuck it in the glove box. Anyway, we got that to stay. The glove box, we got that to stay up at least. The handle is broken, but at least we got it to stay up. Everything else, let me see. the trunk, I think we just cleaned everything up. I'm surprised it even has the trunk cover. It is missing one of the ropes there, but yeah, unfortunately everything in the trunk, like the spare tire and everything, is missing in here. Well, I guess there is a jack, but everything else is missing otherwise. So that's pretty much it. Just a quick cleaning. Like I said, now is kind of the time that we'll make stuff look a lot better, and kind of fix things up. The other thing I did was this front windshield had tint on it. Anyway, it had tint. It was super hazy. It made everything blurry. It was purple. Everything about it, just kind of driving and looking out of that, just made the car feel a lot worse than it actually was. So I was just gonna leave it on until, as you can see, it definitely needs a windshield. But I was going to just leave it on and just replace the windshield and you know, just deal with it, just have them take the whole windshield out and then put a new one in, and then it would be all done. But I was messing with it, and it actually all just peeled right off. It was like no problem at all to just peel that all off. And the crack in the windshield's on the passenger side, so at least on the driver's side you got a clear view. It's clear glass, it's clean now, so it feels a lot better when you're driving around. And when I get the time, or when I want to replace the windshield, then we can do that. The whole point of this is definitely budget. I mean, I'm not looking to just pour a bunch of money in this, so as of right now we can deal with the crack in the windshield. There's a couple of things. So there's a couple of things that we still need to do on the car. One of the things is I definitely, as you can see, it doesn't have the front lip. Now the car sits pretty low, so you can't, it doesn't, you know, like jump out at you that there's the front lip missing, but I definitely would like to get the front lip. The other thing that I was gonna do, we definitely need to get a badge for the back. I prefer just kind of the chrome badge over something really blacked out, but the front badge is blacked out. So then I think I'll just order a black badge, gloss black badge like the front, and then we can put it on the back. That'll definitely make it look a little bit nicer. Now I also think, now guys are always doing this, but I think we'll go in here. I can't decide. I'm debating about deleting this. People do it all the time, but actually having this back wiper is pretty useful. But maybe I'll just come in here. I can always put it back on and get a little delete piece, and so we can delete this back wiper. So that'll be good. The other delete that I wanted to do was delete this armrest. It's probably the cheapest option, and it's gonna make it look a lot better in there. Having an armrest is probably nicer to be able to have it, and also for storage to put stuff in there. But I think I'll just buy the little delete cubby thing, and we'll take it out and get rid of it. So that's kind of the list of things, of next things. As you can see, they're not real expensive. The idea is just to make it look a little bit nicer here and there. Okay guys, so there it is. There you have it. There's a quick update on the GTI. I'm just enjoying this thing. I'm not pouring money into it. Maybe at some point we'll really get crazy after this, or maybe another car. But for now, this is a pretty good project. You know, pretty easy stuff. I definitely wouldn't call this a build, but it's definitely has been fun driving this around. So we'll do those couple of things, and maybe I'll try and record some of it instead of just doing update videos, because then it's just talking. But we'll definitely keep doing stuff on this here and there to keep moving forward and get away from all the Touareg videos. But anyway, thanks guys, thanks for watching.